first thing you want to do in a man overboard situation is to press the man overboard button. We just press the plus and the minus together and it locks our man overboard waypoint in there. Now we want to get back there fairly urgently. We want to get our guy out of the water, and it depends if he's conscious or unconscious. We'll have a little conversation about that at the end. Don't do anything crazy on the power. The temptation is to gas it and get back there as quick as you can. Don't do that. You'll just chuck anyone else who's standing on the back of the boat out. So we want to just get back promptly but smoothly is the key. Now you can see our crew has got a good pointing look at the man overboard. Okay, so now I'm just doing my approach, and you'll see from the drone footage that I need to get this guy on the starboard side of this boat. That's because this is the side of the boat that I'm driving on. Now I'm going to get upwind of the man overboard, and I'm going to allow the wind to push me sideways. Now the benefit of this technique, this is a particularly good one if you're single-handed on the boat, if you haven't got any other crew. So now you should be able to see from the drone footage, you'll see there's an arrow indicating the direction of the wind. Now we must keep that wind perpendicular to the boat to maximize the surface area of the boat that's presented to the wind, and that will push us faster sideways. So once we start drifting, you're going to see that drift accelerates. Now there are some negatives with this maneuver, and the biggest negative is if it's a strong windy day, he could get pushed underneath the boat and it makes it very difficult to recover him. And the second one is you don't want to be doing a side on if you've got big breaking waves over the beam of the boat. I'll show you another approach in a second, but here we are, we're just drifting down, and you can see we've got a nice smooth close rate, and we're not coming in all excited. I'm working the steering wheel and the gears in and out of gear simply to keep the boat perpendicular to the wind. That is the be all and end all of this maneuver. Now here we go, I'm just lining him up with the cockpit, and as soon as I hear that John has got contact on this guy, I'm going to go into neutral and I'm going to turn the engine off. Great, so I can see he's got contact, neutral and engine off, either by the key or the kill cord. And the reason we turn the engine off is so that we don't accidentally, at the heat of the moment, people have left it in gear and run back to try and grab the man overboard and therefore chop them up in the propeller. Or equally, as you're jumping up, you might hit the throttle with your elbow. So if it's safe to do so, and I stress if it's safe to do so, you turn the engine off. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the man overboard button. There's a little bit more to this than you may realize. And the first one is you need to know how to activate it on your GPS plotter. And on ours, we just press the plus and the minus together, and it locks our man overboard waypoint in there. If you get asked by search and rescue where the person went in, you obviously give them the latitude and longitude. But something else that's very important is the time. The time is important because search and rescue will work out where they're likely to be based on the drift and the tides and the wind, as long as they know how long he's been in the water. So it's good, just get yourself familiar with that, and don't make the first time you use that when you need it, because you won't have a clue how to use it, trust me. Okay, so this time we've got a man overboard. I'm going to do a second type of approach. Now, this approach I'm about to show you is a lot trickier than the first drift down technique that we demonstrated. I'm going to drive nose into the wind, keeping the bow into the wind. We use this primarily if you've got a crew to help you, and secondly, if it's really rough, this is the technique you have to use if it's particularly rough and you're concerned that if you go side on to the waves, you're going to destabilize the boat. So I go about, generally speaking, 10 to 15 boat lengths downwind, and then once we're happy we're far enough away, we do give it a good distance downwind so we can turn and line ourselves up. We want to have enough time to line ourselves up with the person. Now here we are, I'm bow straight into the wind. I call it 12 o'clock to the wind. So if you just have a look out the front now, you'll see we've got our man overboard. Now I want minimum steerage speed in this situation. I want to keep him just ever so fine on the starboard bow. You need to be insanely careful you do not bump into this guy, and this is why it takes practice. I'm just focused on keeping him right next to the boat, and as soon as I hear contact, engine off in neutral, and now we get back to pick him up. Now again, engine only off if it's calm enough to do it, and we generally speaking do this when it's rough, so it might not be engine off if it's a rough day. But now we'll get back and we'll have a look at how we're going to recover this man overboard into the boat. Now, A real common problem here is how we get someone into the boat. I can't advise you how to get someone into your boat. The reason being, different boats have different methods of getting people in. Now, generally speaking, on trailer boats, if you've got an outboard engine, on the aeration plate that's just above the propeller, that really makes a good foothold if you haven't got a boarding ladder, and you might be able to grab a hand. If the person is conscious, we can pull them up, over and into the boat. So that's one way. Otherwise, we can rig up lines and try and get them in, or look, sometimes just brute force. Now, generally speaking, if it's a couple, a husband and a wife maybe out on the boat, sometimes the wife may not have enough strength to pull an unconscious husband into the boat. Now, in those situations, what we must do is we must simply secure a line to our person in the water, secure them to the boat, and then go and grab some flares if there's any boats around us. Generally, the orange hand smoke would be our daytime flare we would use. Crack that, and then we want a mayday on the VHF radio. If you've got an EPIRB or a PLB, this is why you want all your crew to know how to use it, because in this situation right now, we need to get help as quick as we possibly can, and the PLB or EPIRB is probably one of the quickest ways to get help to us. But for today, what we're going to do is we're going to try and bring him around to the back of the boat and see if we can manhandle this guy and pull him up and stick his bum onto this as if he's an unconscious person. Okay, John, if we just try and work him around the back, I'm going to be very careful here that I don't end up joining our friend.
Slippery.
Now, if they're wearing a life jacket, this is another reason we wear life jackets. It's not just for buoyancy, it's to give us something to grab onto, and that's why we wear crotch straps on life jackets too. So once we've got him, grab the life jacket, pull him up and in, get his bum on that, and do everything we can, protect the head. Look, it's not going to be pretty. There's no pretty, attractive way to pull people into a boat if they're unconscious. Just do what you got to do. Whew.